Yan, kamusta kayo dyan mga kameta? I hope nakakonect tayo. Ayan, medyo helpless case talaga mga internet natin dito. I don't know what's going on. But let's get back to the discussions na we were hoping to have actually earlier. Ito. Obviously, as some of you were able to eavesdrop dun sa interview natin, or some of you were actually were able to watch it kahapon with our good friends, sila Dindo at saka Edwin Lasherda dun sa CNN Philippines. We talked about how the situation is looking very tough, no? For the opposition pagdating sa 2025. Kung tinignan mo lahat ng surveys na lumabas, at least yung mga public ones, whether ito yung mga Publicus Asia types, whether ito yung mga Okta types na medyo recent lang lumabas, or yung mga established survey agencies like Pulse Asia, for instance, or SWS. Some of them are published, some of them are not. If you look at all of them, if there's one thing consistent, that Jan is someone named Tulfo is still in the run to top the Senate race. No, so in this case, it's Erwin Tulfo. So that tells you something. When all the surveys suggest that another Tulfo could be in a position to dominate the Senate race, it just tells you na benta pa rin sa ating mga kababayan itong ganitong klase ng mga pamumuno, no? Yung medyo mala-action, di ba? Yung medyo tough man, strong man, macho kind of politics. Now, obviously, each of the brothers have their own kind of sui generis kind of approach to politics. But the Tulfo brand is very, very powerful nowadays. So imagine if another Tulfo is in the top three of the Senate, then that tells you something about the direction of, politics in the Philippines. So, kaya nga, hindi benta sa akin yung mga, disinformation lang yan, ganyan, ganyan. No, I mean, there's also definitely genuine yearning for kind of a strong man leader to provide some sort of shortcut solution to people, or at least there is this impression na kung may mga tao na katulad din ng mga Tulfo nandyan sa power, they will be very rapidly responsive, no? Dun sa mga gusto ng tao. Now, we saw also that kind of political desire also helping the rise of people like Isko Moreno, who by the way is also in a very good position. Base sa lahat ng mga major service na nakita natin, mukhang Isko Moreno is also kind of almost shoe-in, no? For the Senate should he decide to run next year. So it's just a question of whether he'll be in the top six or not, no, as things stand. Now, having said all of those things, pag tinignan mo yung race mismo, napaka I mean, the top five more or less, mukhang isa dalawa dyan are gonna be people close to Duterte. So Bongo and Bato del Rosas seem to be doing pretty decently sa mga surveys. So that means that the Duterte camp will have at least two individuals that they can field as, parang kumbaga representative ng kanilang kampo, 'di ba? Twilfos, of course, are building their own profile. Amy Marcos is also going to be in strong position if she runs for it. So you can think about at least three, if not four, strong pro Duterte people doing quite decent, if not very well, dito sa upcoming elections na yan. And then the rest are either, mga re-electionists or ito yung mga tao na malapit naman sa Marcos Jr. camp, no? Interestingly, mga tao na hindi ganun ka-competitive before, katulad ni, for instance, Gibo Chodoro, now they're kind of within the striking distance of Magic 12, no? They're knocking at the door, no? So I think if you're Gibo Chodoro, I won't be surprised if he's also considering his prospects in 2025 while he's undertaking itong trabaho niya na napakahalaga, of course, National Defense Secretary. But having said all of that, to be honest, if you look at all of these surveys, medyo underperforming pa rin yung mga tao na affiliated sa opposition. No, I don't know if President Duterte himself will run, but should President Duterte run, I won't be surprised he'll easily be top five. Because if Bongo and Bato are top five, since they're more or less just derivatives of Duterte, you can imagine Duterte himself would be in top two, top three. Now, that would have made you assume na kung yung pinakamalakas galing sa opposition ng tumakbo, they would be also shooing for the top 5 position. But kung tinignan mo yung survey, actually si Lenny Robredo, hindi siya even sure for top 12. No? Now, my sense is if Lenny were to try to really mobilize and try to really run for office at the Senate level, I won't be surprised she'll be top 10 at least, no? If not a bit higher. But the reality is that we don't know what's her plans, and I won't be surprised if her plans are actually to stay there in Bicol region and serve at that LGU level position, right? And I think it actually makes sense in many ways. Perhaps going back to an executive position at the LGU level, that's really the way forward for the opposition and all. So let's just put aside Lenny, who in theory is the strongest candidate that the opposition could have for the Senate race, considering that she got more than 15 million votes at his officially speaking sa last year's elections. And this 15 million is for for the presidency, right? Isa lang pwede mo botohin sa presidency. So hindi parehas yung 15 million for a senator kumpara sa 15 million for a president. Because yung 15 million sa isang senator, you're just one of many people na binoboto ng tao. So a 15 million for a presidential candidate is quite a high number. So you would have expected na medyo shoe-in lang of top 3 even, or if not top 5, if running for. Because yung 15 million plus ni Len, hindi ganun kalaki sa 16 million na panalo ni Digong. So kung si Digong is top 3 or number 1 base sa surveys, you would imagine Lenny should be there. Now, ibang usapan na if you guys want to think na lahat ng surveys ay fake. Well, ibang usapan na yan. You can go to other vloggers. Mag-ibang usapan na kayo dyan. But for me, because I don't rely on one survey, I look at all different 4 or 5 different surveys, you triangulate it, and then you look at trend lines. So one trend line is very clear. Another Tulfo could be in a position to top the race. Second trend line that I'm seeing here is that yung mga senators na affiliated kay Digong, mukhang malaking chance na makapasok. At least Bato, Bongo, and Amy Marcos. And at least dito sa sa Okta naman, even Francis Tolentino medyo may pag-asa. I don't know dun sa ibang service. Medyo alanganin si Francis Tolentino doon. Nakikita din natin yung mga ibang figures na mala-action din, yung mga rapid response type of people like Isko Moreno, also consistently in the top 6, top 7 dun sa mga iba't ibang surveys. So that tells you something about the bigger picture in the Philippines. So bago tayo pag-usapan mga SD cards and disinformation and all of that, you have to understand the political landscape, no? At anong mga hinihingi ng mga voters. Kasi ang problema sa mga ibang analysis na nakita ko is very supply side, meaning eto, may disinformation, nauto daw yung tao, it has ganitong bumoto. Yung ganyan na analysis, not only is it factually problematic, but it's actually very limiting also. You also have to understand anong hinahanap ng voters at bakit yan ang hinahanap nila. So you have to have a demand side understanding of elections, no, and political preferences. At yun ang medyo kulang talaga doon sa nakikita kong analysis galing sa mga ibang tao, especially yung mga galing sa opposition na supposedly more reasonable, more educated, more evidence-based. But I see more prejudice and bitterness rather than proper political analysis. I don't know where this is coming from. Is it lack of political analytic skills, or is it because of arrogance, hubris, or both? I don't know. But anyway, yung third pattern na nakita ko halos sa lahat ng surveys ay mahirapan talaga ng opposition. And most likely, they will not run for the Senate. So that means you're really looking at people like Kiko, people like Bam, right? Siguro medyo Franklin Dillon and among others, not to mention Chel Jokno. Siguro mga 4 or 5 naisip ko na who may be within the striking distance of top 12, especially once they declare yung kanilang plano to run for the Senate. Now, obviously it's not gonna be easy. And I remember some of discussions na meron tayo with Ronald Llamas, diba? Na parang, I think his understanding is, dapat hintayin natin, parang tanggapin mo na lang sa 2025, medyo malabo, medyo mahirap. 2028 na lang planuhin mo. Well, when you think about it, actually, I have a big issue with that kind of analysis in a sense that there may not be a 2028 elections in the way we anticipate it, no? Kasi sobrang taas yung posibilidad, no? Na if mga pro-Marcos camp ay sobrang ganda ng kanilang performance sa 2025 election, let's say, sige, fine, 2, 3, 4 senators affiliated with the Duterte camp will make it in. More or less, ito yung mga malakas din sa mga dating elections. But the pro-Marcos camp or independents na may leaning kay Marcos or independents na hindi naman talaga opposition, they will dominate not only in the Senate, but especially dun sa lower house of Congress. In that situation, kasi if you were to bet right now, etong sasabihin mo, 3 or 4 ang pro-Digong side ang manalo sa Senate. Pero sa Kongreso, it's gonna be totally a lopsided race. At dun sa ibang LGU races, you can imagine na sobrang lakas ang maging performance ng administration people. At least, based on historical trend lines, no? At I think that explains why yung mga pro-Duterte camp ay medyo nagpa-panic mode na. Now, isang dahilan na nanonood po tayo ng mga videos nila, Buljakan, yung mga, ewan ko, alam mo yung mga, the usual suspects, no? It's because I'm trying to assess also what is their level of desperation and panic, no? At nakikita mo, I mean, some of them, dun sa mga kanilang mga sa mga kanilang vlogs, they're essentially inciting, rebellion. Medyo delikado yung mga sinasabi nila. Yung isa naman, yung ex-human rights lawyer na isa, sabi naman niya, hindi naman siya nagpo-push for gulo, pero pwede magkaroon ng gulo if there'll be moves against Duterte at the highest levels, especially at the ICC level. But, I mean, the thing is, still, may tatlo or apat sa kampo nila na mukhang malaking chance na maging senador ulit. And I think yung strategy din ng Duterte camp right now is to mobilize the base by creating a sense of emergency, which is not totally unfounded. So basically, ang idea dito is kailangan natin lumaban, kailangan na mag-mobilize tayo, kailangan natin gamitin lahat ng mga kailangan natin gamitin para maging competitive tayo sa 2025 at saka magkaroon tayo ng isang political shield, no? Uh, kung saan magdadalawang isip yung kabilang kampo na to go after yung mga iniidola natin yan. So I think there's that kind of mobilization, desperation, scrambling na nangyari. And at the very least, they have 3 or 4 people from their camp who can make it to the Senate in next year's election. So they're not totally irrelevant forces. No, the Marcos camp naman, it's just a matter of how dominant they're going to be in next year's elections and how much they can essentially checkmate the other side. Which leaves you with this very difficult question. Ano naman nangyari dun sa totoong opposition in the meantime? Right? Kung Lenny